You feel that? My God, just give him just a little taste more love, please. Give Victor some too. As we're hearing, resonating through our being, you are so beautiful. We can hear the Spirit of the living God saying out of Scripture, I know the thoughts I think toward you, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. In other words, you are so beautiful. You are spiritually made in the image and likeness and out of God itself. You are another way love is happening on this planet. You can say to yourself the scriptural reference, I am the delight of God, brought up with God before the creations of the world. These scriptural references are speaking to your real identity, your real mode of being in the world, your real relationship to wholeness. That you are the delight of God, brought up with God before the creations of the world, and any identity less than that is a lie that can be experienced, but today it is here to be neutralized. You are so beautiful. Take a breath and just feel the beauty moving through you. Do not deny what you are. Regardless of what you have been called, what's been said about you, today you will only answer to being a child of God. Only answer to being a radiant, dynamic, spiritually intelligent being. You will only answer to the call of greatness, that you are a divine center, a radiant being in the mind of God. And you will begin to vibrate at the frequency of the Most High. I think that has something to do with the topic or the theme of the month, which is the vibration of the Most High. That's the theme of the month. We hearken back to Jesus the Christ, that says, ye are the light that lighteth up every man and every woman that cometh into the world. And today, almost 2,000 years later, we have something called quantum physics or quantum mechanics beginning to make out that same description. When we hear the scientists talk about who we are, they say that we are vibratory fields of infinite possibility. The same thing that Jesus was saying by saying that we are the light that lighteth up every man and woman that cometh into the world. The quantum physicists are now saying that we are vibratory fields of infinite possibility. If we would describe the universe spiritually, we would say that the universe is the physical manifestation of the order of the universe, the physical manifestation of the body of God. In the quantum physicists' view, they would say that the universe is made up of quanta, or little bursts of light that move so rapidly and so fast that it appears as if it is solid and continuous. But in truth, each light, each burst of light represents a field of infinite possibility, a multi-dimensional reality that's happening simultaneously everywhere. That the past, the present, and the future is happening all of the time, and that these bursts of light, when properly understood, when properly seen, become an opening for that which is called miracle. For the moment you can see that the universe is not solid, that it is not continuous, that it is a light, infinite lights breaking into expression, the moment you can see that, then you become available for the miracles of wholeness, the miracles of reconciliation, the miracle of insight, the miracle of revelation, the miracle of healing, because you are not what has happened to you. You are a vibratory field of infinite possibility, a divine light that lighteth up every man and every woman that cometh into the world. In other words, if thine eye be single, thy body shall be full of light. If you could but see with your heart, spiritually rather than materially, if you could see the dynamic flow with your intuition, your body and your body of affairs will be full of the light of your real identity. Heretofore, we have been hypnotized into the world of appearances that look solid, look as if there is a cause and effect relationship in our life, but in truth, there is only one cause, and that is God, the Alpha and Omega. There is only one cause. Everything else is a manifestation of thought, either in harmony with the fundamental harmony of the universe, or it is a lie believed acting as law in our life. Did you understand what I just said? In other words, God is all that there is. And either we're in tune with that, or there is a lie somewhere in our awareness. And a lie believed acts as law until neutralized. So if you believe that you're separated from God, if you believe what people have said about you, that's not in harmony with your being, it will act as a law and create experience until that lie is neutralized. When you see that you are not what has happened to you, you're not every experience that has passed through you, that you are a vibratory field of infinite possibility, and at every given moment when you can see that, when your eye is single, then that which is there quantumly, spiritually, and really can break forward as the reality of your being. In other words, the peace, the love, the joy, the wisdom, the harmony, the spiritual guidance, the safety, the protection, the prosperity, the wisdom, all of these qualities are already resonant within you. The possibility and the potentiality is already there. When you see it by keeping your eyes single and calling it forth, you're not adding something to yourself. You're not bringing in a foreign agent. It is not God out there going to do something that God isn't already doing, because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. God is changeless, always being the same. You are indeed seeing the possibility and the potentiality, calling it forth, and that reality which is true somewhere in the dimension of your being now becomes the law of your personal being, and your life is changed. Behold, miracle happens. Behold, something wonderful that's happening everywhere gets to happen to, through, and as you. Do you understand that? And so we're here, vibrating, lifting our vibration and seeing spiritually. So the work you are doing, your prayer work, your meditation work, your service, you're making the world a better place, is simply about lifting the vibratory field of your being, that you may begin to see no longer materially, but that you can begin to see spiritually. For when you have been hypnotized into the world of appearances, what you become is a master manipulator, and you develop a certain degree of cleverness trying to move things around in the external world on your behalf, thinking that your life will change if in fact you become clever enough and learn how to manipulate people, places, and things. But in reality, that world view does not hold water, so to speak. Indeed, the universe is a burst of light, continuing, expressing. It is not material, so you don't need to become a master manipulator. You need to become a master prayer. You need to become a master meditator. You need to become an individual that's here for service, to allow the great universal flow of life to flow through you, and then you discover with ease and with grace and with dignity, the entire universe conspires on your behalf and on this behalf to release and reveal life energy through you. Your life begins to glorify the power and the presence and the love of God. You change in this instant. You can change. As Dr. Thurman indicated. Howard Thurman, that's where the H came from. Indicated in the reading there on page 23, and for the inward journey, your self-encounter, decide and abide. Powerful. When you make that decision to be yourself, your real self, and abide in that octave, coming to an understanding that nothing outside of yourself can determine your attitude, nothing outside of yourself can determine your character. When you decide and abide in that feeling tone, in that octave, your entire life changes. So we're speaking about lifting the vibration. We're speaking about seeing spiritually. This always comes home to me very clearly. I always try to make a point, as you know, to leave the country every year and go to a place that's conducive to this kind of thinking, into some kind of indigenous culture that has not quite forgotten their connection to the environment, has not quite forgotten the connection to God. And you have to kind of get out of this high-tech, low-touch society sometimes, where all the pavement and buildings are, so that you can see clearly. And I'll always remember a couple of years ago as I was at the Ethiopian mission with Brother Ishmael Tete, and they were inducting me into the Order of the Serpent and the Lion, which is the highest office that this particular spiritual community has. And before I even got there, their practitioners were working on the inner planes to prepare the field for me to be inducted into this particular order. And so when I got there and they placed the garments on me, and they began to speak the word of prayer and began to play the music and began to do the evocation, you could feel the energy of the room change. You heard Brother Ishmael Tete, who was there, say, "Close the doors. No one is to get in and no one is to get out." And the whole place turned into this energetic field of love and of harmony. And in an instant, he released a sound accompanied by his practitioners, and it was as if a rent was torn in the ethers above me, and what was invisible before became visible. And one of the things that was visible was his spiritual teacher that he calls the Madonna, that speaks to and through him. And in an instant, we could see the spiritual teachers that were around in the ethers. Now, the spiritual teachers of Jesus, Buddha, whoever, they're always here. They just vibrate so high you can't see them. But in that instant, as the vibration was lifted, we could see differently. Recently, as we just came back from Africa last week, Ricky and I had the privilege of being the recipient of a premarital blessing at the Ethiopian mission. Thank you very much. And for 28 days, the practitioners were working on the inner plane, holding us in prayer. They went out at the beginning of those 28 days and they harvested 72 different herbs. Each herb represented a different divine verity, a different frequency, a different quality of God. Every group of practitioners had their group of herbs that they were infusing these herbs with. They were infusing these qualities into these herbs for 28 days. At the end of the 28 days, they distilled the herbs into a liquid. And on that particular day, of that particular blessing for us, all of the practitioners came out from different aspects of the church, evoking the power and the presence and the love of God and their particular qualities that they were holding sacred for us. And at a certain point, Brother Ishmael Tete put the liquid on the ground and set it afire, and Ricky and I had to jump across the fire onto the altar there. Now, when Brother Tete did this, accompanied by the practitioners in the congregation holding a very high space, you could literally feel the surface, the air in the room change. The vibe was high, so to speak. And there was not anyone in that room who did not immediately fall in love. There was a love, a feeling that took over, and a bondedness that just spilled over into that environment, because they were lifting the vibration and they were not hypnotized by the world of appearances. They were seeing spiritually. Now you are to do the same thing in your life. That so very often, because you've been trained to see materially, and you have a material concept of good and bad. You have a material concept of good and bad, and so you seek in your prayer work to try to manipulate and make things happen in the external world. In reality, as Jesus was teaching, and as the quantum physicists have now caught up to the teachings of Jesus, they're saying, of course, there is no internal and external world. There is no other life. There's only one life. That is the life of God. The past, the present, and the future are happening simultaneously, and that your prayer work is really about a deep soul cleansing that is eliminating on the subjective the places within you where you have allowed events and circumstances and perceptions to harden and become facts in your life, become point of views, and ultimately become experience. As you pray aright, as you cleanse your soul, you are requalifying those units of energy that have become stuck. Often as they become stuck, often as they coagulate, often as they harden, they become rheumatism, they become arthritis, they become heart failure, they become many emotional, psychological, and physical maladies that you suffer from. They don't cause those things to happen. Those particular qualities manifest as an arthritis, as a rheumatism, as whatever the illness may be. They don't cause it. They are the thing itself, vibrating in your body temple, in your mental body, in your psychological body. They manifest as missed opportunities or self-sabotage or a limited idea of who and what you are. And incorrectly, you will sometimes try to reach out and try to change the external world, forgetting that it's all emanating from here. Your perception must be healed. Your point of view must be changed. You must, as Dr. Thurman reminded us, have an encounter with yourself. You must live a life of self-examination and see what's going on in here. And then requalify that energy until you come back into balance, back into harmony with the fundamental order of the universe, which is the natural harmony of your being. We call this soul cleansing. And there's some strategies here today for you to begin to take to heart, to begin to sincerely use, begin to sincerely practice, not merely because I say so, not merely to make your world a better place or for some degree of self-improvement, but so that you can become more yourself, so that you can really live up to the mandate that you are an emanation of the Most High, that you're brought up with God before the creations of the world, that you're brought up with God. Oh, what a powerful statement. And so there's three categories of things that are so fundamental to the human experience. There's a feeling that we're not enough. There's a feeling that we don't have enough, we're not enough. That sweeps across the human experience. There's a feeling that there's a power outside of ourselves and that things are happening to us. We call those people victims. Maybe a couple in here today, I don't know. And so there's a belief that there's something out there that's doing something to them. And then there are certain obstructions in our awareness that we are unconscious of. We don't really know what it is, but we just know our life isn't working. We just know things aren't going right. We just know that we keep having certain experiences over and over and over again, but it's always their fault. It's always some other people's fault. And regardless as to how many people we find to blame, it does not free us from the experience of lack and limitation and a degree of unfulfillment. Do you understand what I'm saying here? The way the universe is set up and what Jesus the Christ taught us is that it does you not that much good to pray for your friends. You must pray for your enemies. In other words, your enemies tell you what's going on inside of your own soul, but you're afraid to own up to it, so you project it on them. You understand what I'm saying? That doesn't feel too good, does it? No one really wants to hear that. You love hearing how beautiful you are and what a shining light you are, and God loves you, and let's hold hands and sing peace on earth. That stuff feels good. But really, when we really want to grow spiritually, we have to come to an understanding that the enemy is within our own household, and what we are projecting onto the people we don't like is often stuff that we do not own up to, operating at a greater or lesser degree within our own soul. So to free ourselves and to requalify that energy and those unconscious thought patterns that have become mental habits and unconscious points of view, we put on our prayer list right at the top all of the people we don't like, people that we would call enemies, people that you try not to think about. but they just keep showing up in your life. You move to Chicago and there they are in somebody else's body. You try to have a geographical healing and move to another part of the world. Oh, here they come in somebody else's body. They just keep showing up. Where do they come from? Why is this kind of person always in my life? Everywhere I move, they just show up. Well, you see, it follows you because it is you. And so what you do is you place the so-called enemy on the top of the prayer list, and you begin to embrace this individual. They are simply representing a blind spot in your awareness. And they're becoming for you a mirror that you get to see what's operating in your own soul at a greater or lesser degree. And if you're willing to embrace the mirror, if you're willing to embrace this individual or those individuals, you will begin to requalify that energy in your own soul. You will begin to see there really isn't an enemy, there really isn't any other, there's only one, and you will set yourself free. This must be done sincerely. This must be done with a real willingness to change, a real willingness to see the face of the divine on these individuals that you think are exceptions to the rule that we're all spiritually made in the image and likeness of God itself. Now, all of you have some of those exceptions. You say, everybody's in the image and likeness of God, but so-and-so. I believe that God made one mistake, but no mistakes. You will begin to see, if you have that kind of prayerful encounter, the places within you that are incongruent with your own vision and your own state of well-being. And you will begin to change, and you will discover that those individuals will stop annoying you because they will not be able to get a foothold in you because there will be nothing there to resonate with. You understand what I'm saying? You will be clean inside, so that whether you're praised or criticized, it makes no bit of difference, because you know who you are, what you represent, what your intention is. You know the vision that you're living, and the degree of self-love and appreciation that has nothing to do with an egocentric point of view, but has something to do with being dynamically and really connected to the Spirit of the living God, will take over your life. Then you must do something else. There are oftentimes, people oftentimes experience a belief in a power outside of themselves. And they're afraid, superstitiously, mind you, that there's something out there that's going to get them. Some people are brought up with that kind of teaching, that there's something out there that's going to get them. And so the way to neutralize that kind of energy, as you look in your life and you look at all of the authority figures in your life that sometimes intimidate you, sometimes makes you feel less than, and you place them second on your prayer list. You begin to pray for these individuals that are representing your belief in a greater power outside of yourself. They're simply being the backdrop, the screen that you're projecting your belief in a power outside of yourself. You begin to speak the word, embracing them within your own soul. That belief will be requalified, and you will be set free from such superstitious way of being in the world. There is only one, the power, the Alpha and the Omega, the presence, the power, the love of God. It is in you. You live, you move, you have your beingness in it. The kingdom of God is within you. You are the light that lighteth up every man and woman that cometh into the world. That about says it all. Everything else is a lie believed, acting as law into your life until you neutralize it. You take the authority figures of your life and you begin to bless them. I'm talking about the ones that disturb you, that intimidate you, that bother you. The ones that you have those insane fantasies about, in which you say things like, oh, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind when I see them. And the only thing about giving someone a piece of your mind, you do that too often, you have no mind left. And so, those kind of people where you have that kind of fantasy, you're to bring them into your heart. You're to love. You to release life energy. You are to sincerely desire the highest and the best for them. And you will begin to break apart this insane belief of a greater power outside of yourself, and you will become free. You will set yourself free with right intention and with right prayer, right motivation. You will set yourself free. And then thirdly, the human experience is fraught with people not feeling like they're enough. They feel like they're less than. Perhaps it came into manifestation through some kind of experience they had, or a continuing experience. Everybody here has a story of abuse and bad things happening. We don't deny that. But when it has coagulated into a point of view that you're not enough because of what has happened to you, that you'll never be enough, or that you were born on the wrong side of the tracks, or you're too dark, or too tall, or too light, or too not intelligent enough, not educated, whatever it is, that feeling of not enoughness is not the truth about you as a spiritual being. So what you do to assist in requalifying that energy is you look around your life, past or present, and you bring to mind individuals that you have been jealous of, individuals that you've been kind of envious of at times, for they represent to you how you project your not enoughness onto the world. And again, you place them on your prayer list. Instead of scheming, conniving, manipulating, or wishful thinking that you had what they had, instead you become absolutely grateful for the qualities of God that are shining through them. You become absolutely grateful for all of the good tidings that come their way. You pray for them sincerely. And you will be breaking the bond, the hypnotic spell that there's not enough within you. Because you only get to keep what you give away. And so as you are speaking the word for these individuals that you so-called hate, that seem to intimidate you or seem to have more than you, you're simply embracing the parts of yourself that you have fragmented, that you have projected out onto the screen of life that you have not yet owned. And if you sincerely pray aright from this point of view, you will reclaim your soul. You will reclaim the dimension about you that has never been hurt, harmed, or endangered in any way. Remember, in the Father's house are many mansions. Quantum physically said, in your being there are infinite realms of possibility that already exist. In the Father's house are many mansions. In your being is a dimension of infinite possibility, and within you already is the love, the peace, the joy, the wisdom, the harmony, the good tidings. Everything is already there. You must see it and call it forth. When you requalify that energy that I have just mentioned, you are setting yourself free to be yourself. Now, some of this sounds ridiculous at times. I mean, you think about countries rising up to practice what their particular cultural, spiritual influence is, and it all says the same thing, the golden rule, give unto others what you want done unto you. If everyone were to rise up and pray for their enemies rather than bomb them, if everyone were to rise up and do good tidings rather than to boycott them, if people were to rise up at this level, we would literally have the kingdom of the living God on earth as it is in the mind of God. But we can't expect governments to do this if individuals can't do it. If you and I can't do it on a daily basis. If we can't do it. If this cannot be a way of life for the individual, then we cannot look back at the newspapers and see the things that are going on and project it out onto governments and officials and politicians, because they simply follow the lead of the consciousness of what's going on in their culture and their country anyway. We have to rise up. We have to lift our vibration. We have to see spiritually. We have to practice. Then when we go into the world and do the work that we're called upon to do to build a better society, we're not going out fragmented and projecting our dark side onto other people. We're going out as the answer.
We're going out as liberated consciousness, not reacting to circumstance, but responding to our sacred center within our own soul, understanding we're on a divine mandate of the Spirit. We are a fiat of God. We are the living Spirit. We are the answer. This is our calling as individuals who call themselves on the spiritual path. It means we must free ourselves. The vibration of the Most High is a vibration of dynamic peace, not passivity. Dynamic peace, unconditional love, service, compassion, beauty, generosity, radiance, creativity. You are called to vibrate at that level and to no longer see things from simply a material standpoint, but understand that everything is in a dynamic